In the fall of 2023, I introduced a long retrospective on the Super Mario Bros. Games released in the 1980s. But I mostly covered their behind-the-scenes stories with little input on the games themselves. But Gaming Delight Reviews plans to go over each game in individual videos, and I'll provide some more evaluation. Perhaps even a few details I didn't bring up in my retrospectives. And given this the 40th anniversary of the original Super Mario Bros., as well as the 40th anniversary of the North American launch of the Nintendo Entertainment System, it only makes sense. So here we go. It's my review on the original Super Mario Bros. Tonight on Gaming Delight.
ファミリーコンピューターに夢の大冒険ゲームスーパーマリオブラザーズ。秘密の力で大きく変身。地上に、地下に、海に、空に、次々に展開する不思議な世界。スーパーマリオブラザーズ新発売。
The game was released for the Family Computer, or Famicom, in Japan on September 13th, 1985. A month later, it launched in North America alongside the Nintendo Entertainment System in New York and New Jersey.
Will it be you? Will your family be the first to witness the birth of the incredible Nintendo Entertainment System?
What will the future bring from Nintendo? More hits like Super Mario Bros.
Once the nationwide rollout began in 1986, Nintendo released the NES Control Deck set, with Super Mario Bros. As the bundled game. As the story goes, the evil King Koopa, later known as Bowser, King of the Koopa, has taken over the Mushroom Kingdom and transformed its people into various objects. He's also kidnapped Princess Peach, known in North America at the time as Princess Toadstool, the only being capable of reversing the spells. 7 mushroom retainers are also abducted. Mario and Luigi, plumber brothers who entered the kingdom through a pipe from New York City, set out to save the day. The two brothers traverse through 32 levels in 8 worlds, stomping on enemies along the way. Goombas, Koopa Troopas, Paratroopas, Buzzy Beetles, Lakitu, Spinies, Hammer Brothers, Bloopers, Bullet Bills, Cheep Cheeps, Piranha Plants, and in the case of castle stages, Lava Bubbles, aka Potaboos. To help the Mario Brothers out on their journey are power-ups hidden in question blocks, the Super Mushroom that makes them bigger, the Fire Flower that lets them shoot fireballs with the push of the B button, the Superstar that grants temporary invincibility, letting the brothers mow through enemies without a scratch. Coins are also scattered throughout the stages, either out in the open or in blocks. Collecting 100 earns an extra life. There are also 1-up mushrooms, which instantly grant an extra life. To finish the first 3 stages of each world, Mario or Luigi must slide down a flagpole, which awards points depending on how high he lands on it, for a maximum of 5,000 for reaching the top. Finishing with the timer ending in 1, 3, or 6 awards that amount of fireworks and 500 points for each. There are a multitude of different settings. You got grasslands, underground, under the sea, and over the sky, which, except for World 8-3, lead to the castle stages in the 4th level of each world. What makes these stages stand out, aside from their design, is the wonderful music by Koji Kondo. Nothing will ever beat the overworld theme, but the underground theme is rather catchy. It has its own sort of kick. Plus, the underwater theme is very soothing. Oh, and going back to the underwater stages, Shigeru Miyamoto's Research and Development 4 team, particularly Toshihiko Nakago, took inspiration from Satoru Iwata. For the NES version of Balloon Fight, Iwata calculated the player's position on the screen with more accuracy than in the arcade version. R&D 4 used these same calculations for Super Mario Bros. Underwater stages to make Mario and Luigi swim properly. Underwater stages in the Super Mario series probably wouldn't be here today as they are, were it not for Mr. Iwata. He'll never be forgotten. Back to the game. There are also warp zones to help you progress. There's 3 in World 1-2, right behind the pipe that leads to the goal. There's only 1 in World 4-2 in pretty much the same position as World 1-2, and it leads to World 5. However, in an earlier portion of World 4-2, there's a secret and more complex way to get to other warp zones. Find a hidden vine in that stage, and voila! You can choose to advance to World 6, 7, or 8 without trouble. Some castle stages have duplicate layouts in later worlds, but with extra obstacles. For example, in World 2-4, there's no fire bar below the question block. In World 5-4, there's a long fire bar, making it more difficult to get that power-up. Plus, there's more potaboos. It's the same thing with World 6-4, similar to World 1-4, but with more fire bars and potaboos. Worlds 4, 7, and 8 are mazes. At some points, you choose from 2 paths. One leads to the next point, but the other leads you back to the beginning. Bowser is the boss of each stage, or so it seems. Hitting the axe behind him causes the bridge he's standing on to dissolve, causing Bowser to plummet into the lava below. However, if you're equipped with a fire flower, you can shoot Bowser with fireballs repeatedly until he's knocked into the lava. But here's the catch. In Worlds 1-7, when Bowser is beaten by fireballs, he's revealed to be a lesser enemy in disguise, such as a Goomba, a Koopa Troopa, a Spiny, or a Hammer Brother. And speaking of hammers, the fake Bowser in Worlds 6-7 can throw hammers at you instead of fireball projectiles. Beating a castle stage rescues one of the princess's mushroom retainers, also known as Toad, who reminds Mario that the princess is in another castle. The real Bowser in the final stage throws hammers and shoots fireballs. You may need a power-up as insurance to get past him, but once you beat him, the game is over and the princess is saved. And she presents you with a new quest. Pressing B on the title screen takes you on a more difficult journey, with buzzy beetles replacing Goombas, more narrow lifts, and faster enemies. An average player can get through every stage in either quest within an hour, but seeing as it was the very first Super Mario Bros. Game, it only makes sense. And that's one of the reasons why it sold so well, and why it was a launch title, and later a packet title for the NES in the West. Plus, Shigeru Miyamoto had intended for Super Mario Bros. To be the last cartridge-based game Nintendo would release for the Famicom, as the Famicom disk system was in development at that time. Sure enough, in February of 1986, less than half a year after the game's release, the disk system came out in Japan. It was slightly more expensive than the Famicom, but disc-based games would sell for less than that of the average cartridge at the time. Super Mario Bros. Was one of the launch titles for the add-on, alongside the Hyrule Fantasy, Zelda no Densetsu, better known as The Legend of Zelda. The sequel to Super Mario Bros. Would come out exclusively for the disk system in June of 1986, but that's a topic for the next review. Super Mario Bros. Went on to become the best-selling game on the Famicom/NES, selling over 40 million copies worldwide. 29 million of them were sold in North America alone. And for over 2 decades, it had been the best-selling video game of all time, only to be outsold by Wii Sports for the Nintendo Wii, which sold over 82 million copies, making it the best-selling game exclusive to a single console. Super Mario Bros. Also sold an additional 18 million copies on other platforms, including its re-releases on the Game Boy Color and Game Boy Advance. The game even got a Versus System arcade version in 1986, with stages altered to add to the difficulty so as to increase quarter consumption. It went on to sell over 20 million cabinets in its first few months, and each unit sold took in over $200 a week on average, making it the best-selling Versus System arcade game of all time. Now here are a few fun secrets to the original game. First, there's the popular one-up trick. For instance, in World 3-1, as you reach the final staircase, stomp on the last Koopa Troopa on the edge of the stair, and at every stomp, hit the A button. This must be done with perfect timing, but fair warning, if you exceed 128 lives and lose another life, you instantly get a game over. This is carried over to the Japanese Mario 2, but the All-Star versions of both games eliminate that glitch. Another fun secret is the small fire Mario glitch. Before World 8, when you take on Bowser, face the axe and wait for Bowser to catch up to you. Jump up just before he can touch you and land on his head and the axe simultaneously. Mario will power down as you clear the stage, but he'll flicker and stay big. Pick up a mushroom at a later stage while in this state without losing a life, and Mario will shrink down. Then pick up a fire flower without losing a life, and he'll become Fire Mario while still shrunk. Though with every press of the B button, you'll briefly see his larger sprite. That's because there never was a legitimate small Fire Mario firing sprite. And let's not forget the infamous Minus World, though it's harder to accomplish. Near the end of World 1-2, as Super Mario or Fire Mario, destroy at least the second block before the vertical pipe without destroying the first. Then jump backwards toward the pipe, and you'll float through the pipe and the bricks behind it. Then drop down the first Warp Zone pipe before the Welcome to Warp Zone text can appear, and into the Minus World you go. In the Japanese Disk System version of the game, it's a series of levels with all sorts of weird stuff going on. In the cartridge version, the Minus World is simply an endless loop of a water stage. You can only escape by losing a life or shutting off the game. Now for my own personal history with the game. Super Mario Bros. Was actually the very first video game I ever played in my life. Of course, it should come as no surprise. But my first experience was back in 1991, when my uncle showed me how to play the game. He even let me play. Though personally, I had more fun controlling Mario than beating stages. I never owned an NES in my boyhood, so I never got a chance to own this game for myself until Super Mario All-Star showed up for the Super Nintendo. And the original 8-bit experience didn't quite come to me until I played my cousin's copy of Super Mario Bros. Deluxe on Game Boy Color. And it wasn't until 2004 that I got my own copy of the Game Boy Advance port. But again, it just wasn't the same, considering how compressed it looked. Then along came the Wii Virtual Console, and the rest is history. Super Mario Bros. Went on to spawn a series of games for Nintendo platforms, but again, each game will get a separate review, and it could be a long while. Plus, there are other games in other series that deserve their own reviews. And I still need to work on part 2 of my 90s retrospective on Super Mario Bros. Games. But I just thought that with the Nintendo Entertainment System turning 40 in North America, and Super Mario Bros. Turning 40 overall, I'd bring up the very first game. If I can't get the retrospective up soon enough, the next video will probably be a review on the Japanese Super Mario Bros. 2. Whatever it is, please stay subbed for that. Thanks again for watching Gaming Delight. Until next time, happy gaming!